So in the previous video you guys saw me talking about subwoofer break-in. So before I start this subwoofer break-in series with a lot of different tests I do as I go with seeing how my subwoofer reacts differently with different break-in points. If you haven't seen that, suggest watching it so you can kind of see some key things I mentioned. So this video I'm going to be focusing on my port adjustment and kind of seeing where my loudest output is with this subwoofer being brand new. So I have less than 15 minutes on the subwoofer, not even a high power rated power going to it yet. So the sub's pretty much brand new, super stiff. It isn't even moving. I'm not even really able to push it in because it's so tight. So what I'm going to be doing first, before I start doing this break-in session where I'm not touching this box at all, is I want to get my port where I'm happy with it first and then not mess with it until after all these tests for a final, pretty much a final output change difference to compare. So where I'll be able to see what I meter with it brand new, after I get this part where I want it, and then after it breaks in for a couple weeks or months. So we'll see how this goes. I hope you guys enjoy this kind of serious stuff. Use this concept in your own build, whether you've got a single sub like I do, or you got a huge wall build with 15s or whatever you got. So the subwoofer break-in is a key thing that a lot of people don't realize, that it really affects your, I'm not even going to bring in, there's like 10 variables it affects. So this video I'm going to be tweaking. So first off, if anybody doesn't know me, I have a meter. Sorry, it's a little loud, it's in the morning. But I'm going to be actually seeing what I meter current state. So let me grab my tape measure real quick. So the port is very important. So if anybody new watching, my box isn't the prettiest, so don't really judge me. I just enjoy the hobby. So the port is the most critical part in an enclosure, whether you're ported, 6th order, 4th order, etc. So I'm 4th order. So what I need to do is make sure I know where my current port area is. So right now I'm 14 high by right at, you guys can see on camera, 5. So 5 to 5.5. So 14 times 5, well, 10 times 5 is 50, and then 5 times 4. So yeah, so it's right around 70 square inches of port, if I remember right. 14 times 5. I'm not the best at math either. So yeah, around 70 square inches of port currently, which is, I'm going to guess on the small end, I'm probably going to be removing wood to see if I gain. But what I'm going to be doing first is my initial test to see where my meter score is and my peak is with it where it is. And then I'm going to take this out and kind of see how my variation changes. So once I get to a point to where I know I'm not really getting any more output using a meter, not by ear, it's a lot harder, I'm going to be able to see where I'm at. And once I'm at that point, I'm going to tape it up, seal it, and then not touch this box for like a month or two. And then literally just do a lot of different other tests to kind of see the variables at the start, middle, and end of the subwoofer as I notice the changes. So I didn't do this on my last build with the 10, but I noticed it. So I'm going to be doing it with this one and noticing it on video. So let's go ahead and get started. Make sure I keep the same variables for every test. And I'm going to go ahead and close this. First need to find out what I'm peaking at real quick. Let me get this. I always do the same variable for every test. So I'm going to be doing sealed with the window up. And I'm going to do volume 20. So let me, sorry, a little loud. Not the prettiest up here if anybody's watching. I don't plan to put a dash in or anything. I cut it out when I had my extreme 415s build. It wasn't extreme class, but it was wall class. So, oh, sorry about that. So let me get my Bluetooth hooked up with my actual iPod. Sorry, had a little blank moment. Have my bass knob on and up. 20 volume. Let me get, so I have an SSA meter here. I use the SSA meter. Any meter works. Highly recommend doing a meter instead of by ear if you guys do these tests. So this port adjustment is very important. So let's just say somebody right now has this box, or you got a box complete, looks super fancy and pretty. Your port looks great. Everything looks good. But my final decision is, okay, well, this is where my box is going to stay. I'm going to keep my port area right where it is, around 70 square inches, which 70 square inches of 113 port area subwoofer for a 12-inch sub is, I mean, maybe a little bit inefficient or efficient. I don't know. That's where you have to do tests to find out. So I got my meter on. Let me make sure I get my Bluetooth hooked up, and I'm going to do a sweep to identify where I'm peaking at with this 12. So right now the sub's brand new. So we know that with these tests in the next couple weeks with this series, you're going to see a difference in change in peak. You're going to see a difference in output. Everything's going to be changing variable wise. But for this video and the next one you'll see for part 2 is going to be focusing on just port adjustment. So that way I get my port where I want it to be before I don't mess with it no more. And that's with it being brand new. We'll be doing port adjustment again in a month or two after the sub's fully broken in for variation change. But for now, that's where I'm at. All right. So I'm going to do a sweep 40 to 70 at 20 volume. It's hooked up. I'm going to do volume 20 like I always do. It's going to be a little louder, so I have to be careful because I'm in the neighborhood, but I always stick with the same volume for every test I do, and that's volume 20. I don't touch anything. Bass knob all the way up on both. And we're going to see where I peak at sealed and find out. So we'll remember that. 124.22, peaking at 43 hertz. So right now I'm peaking at 43 hertz, 124 dB. So now let me go ahead and turn this off and go do my port adjustment. Turn the meter off and I'll come back and do my second test. So this is with that round over, so it's most likely, it may drop, it may gain without that round over on it. I don't know, but what I'm about to do now is actually go in here, take my tape off. I use tape even if it's not the prettiest because I can literally just remove it. So this was my initial tuning. What I had is originally I just added 2 pieces of 2x4 and this PVC pipe, and literally just that was all it was. So what I'm doing is removing this and this, and we'll see kind of how it changes. So I don't know, we'll find out on that one. Definitely going to be pretty interesting to see the difference in output change since I've never done it. So let me make sure I got everything. Let me go grab my drill real quick. It's over here. Sorry. I don't stage or plan videos as I go. I just keep it entertaining for you guys that watch to kind of show y'all what I do. Because most people aren't going to show you what I do, everything. And of course, not everybody's going to do the same thing I do. Everybody has their own thing. I really just do it for a hobby and fun, and it's entertaining, and put it on video so other people can learn too. And of course I'm not the best at teaching either, but it's about having fun as a hobby. It's not about that. So I got the tape I have to take off, so there's a couple of strips of wood here. So let me go ahead and turn this off. I'll get this off, and then that way you can finish part 1 with this off real quick. So that shaved off 2 minutes of the video, so y'all didn't have to waste some time watching me literally just take this out. So I got a PVC around a 2x4 here. Take this out, set it aside, keep the same variable with how everything was. Make sure this is cleaned off, all the tape. So I had some screws in there. Take all of this out. And I'm about to see how the peak changed and the output. So now I can actually poke my head in here. So it'd be nice if I actually did gain by taking this out. But the round over is not on here now. So what happens is, I'll talk about it later. All right, so I got this out. Now we're gonna find out how my peak changes with this PVC out. So now let me grab them before I do that. So before it was around 5.5. Now it's right around 8. So that's a huge change going from 5.5 to 8. So of course I'll get some shims in there too, so 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch pieces I can put in to add and change too. But we'll find out how this output changes real quick on that. It's going to be pretty interesting to see. So like I mentioned again, everybody's build's different, but the concept of the builds can be all the exact same when it comes to little tweaks you can do to your port or your sub or your box, bracing, everything. So I got this on, turn my meter on. Let me get the meter back to its spot, and we'll find out how that does on the meter. With that out, everything's sealed off, same as before. Is it gonna hook? Yep, it hooked up. All right. Bass knob's the same, volume's 20, make sure. Yep. Now we'll find out how it changes. Oh, it's getting a little bright out, sun's coming out. That's why I try to do it in the morning. Okay, so before it was a 24 dB at 43 hertz, now it's a 44 hertz 22. So a whole dB loss doing that. So now, let's go look at this so I can kind of explain it real quick so you guys can understand, for everybody watching, if they didn't understand that. So I'll grab this and look at my phone real quick so I can visually show you what I mean by that. So you got 24.22. 22.2 or 22. So you lost 2.2 dB taking all that wood out from that port. So that was, to be honest, a completely major difference in change. So that means me taking out that much wood and that roundover made me lose 2.5 dB almost, just by that port adjustment there. So that means that this needs to be opened up or closed in again, but that's going to be in part 2 to kind of see how I can get this fine-tuned a little bit better. Best case scenario is where the box was before was the best with how the port was. So taking it out, it could have been a loss by changing it, but you never know until you do it, because I kind of guesstimated it when I put it in. So, all right, I'll see you all in part 2. So you guys can see what I do to find out how the results change and differ by adjusting this port again even more.